How to take MOTS-c Peptide. Well, let's jump in because this 16 amino acid peptide encoded right inside of your mitochondria that your body's been producing since birth. Its job is to keep your metabolism running like you're 25. The problem is after 40, your body makes significantly less of it, and that gap shows up in your labs. It also shows up in body composition and your energy. And so today we're going to be covering what I think MOTS-c is probably one of the biggest opportunities when it comes to health is activating your body's own MOTS-c peptide, but we'll also show what labs to use when you're monitoring. Is MOTS-c right for you or not? We'll talk about safety, talk about what you want to do before you ever touch this peptide or before it ever gets into your protocol. So remember, this is education, not a prescription, because your future self starts with the right questions, and the right questions starts with a provider who's actually seen your blood work. And so I'm Regan Archibald, founder of Ageless Future. And before anyone gets on any kind of peptide protocol, we dive deep into your blood labs. We want to see what the cause of the cause is. We want to know exactly with precision what peptides are going to be the best for you based on over a decade of experience. So let's jump in. MOTS-c or MOTS-c. I know some of you blow your mind when I say MOTS-c, so I'll try to keep it MOTS-c for you, but this stands for Open Reading Frame of the 12S RNA-C, and it was identified in 2015 at the University of Southern California, first published in Cell Metabolism, when researchers discovered that these mitochondrial DNA encodes functional specific signaling peptides, not just proteins for energy production, but functionally specific. And that discovery changed how we think about aging, because if you think about aging, mitochondria, they aren't just these power plants. They are signaling organs. There is even that description of mitochondria, these evolved bacteria, and they're sending signals to the biome, sending signals to your immune system. And if you get stuck in a cell danger response, this is where you can feel so exhausted, and you can have conditions like chronic inflammation, you can have brain fog, autoimmunity, you can have achy joints, and then you don't have the energy that you used to. You lose the pep in your step. And it's because our mitochondria lose their density. They lose their ability to vibrate, because your body is this massive energy production system. And if you don't have the mitochondrial to back it up, the mitochondrial horsepower, you're going to be left in a deficit. And so MOTS-c, what researchers realized is they said, man, when humans exercise, and in one of the studies they put participants on an exercise bike for 20 minutes, and they measured their free circulating levels of MOTS-c before the exercise and then after the exercise occurred, and they found that the incidences and the quantity of MOTS-c went up 400 to 500% after exercise, and that persisted for about 5 to 6 hours. They also found that when heat shock proteins were activated, like in a sauna, MOTS-c increased. And what is the benefit of that? Well, how do you feel after you exercise? You know, it's usually when I'm exercising, I'm like, man, this is hard work. You know, I did a lot of mountain biking over the weekend. This is the day after Memorial Day. And it was crazy because I'm like, man, I could feel like just that euphoria that comes from pushing myself. And really fun to get out on my mountain bike, but I also noticed there's some good recovery. And luckily, utilizing MOTS-c just helped me have better endurance. I also had some CJC and ipamorelin. I like the tingling that comes from that. I like using it in the morning. That stack made a huge difference so that I could enjoy the things that I love doing as I'm pushing 50. And so if you think about one of the main things does, MOTS-c, it actually travels from the mitochondria into the nucleus and tells your genome how to behave under the metabolic influence of exercise. And so if you think of adding a little bit more in, you think of GLUT4 transportation, you think of blood sugar stability, because what they found is as we age, these levels in humans are approximately 21% lower in adults age 70 to 81 compared to adults 18 to 30. So one of the reasons why you have so much more endurance is sometimes I'll mountain bike with kids who are on mountain biking teams. I'm like, man, these kids are like 16 and they're so hard to keep up with. But it's because they have this natural expression of MOTS-c. And this decline of MOTS-c, it correlates directly with the onset of insulin resistance, reduced metabolic flexibility, declining physical capacity. And so your future self, we're just trying to restore the signal. And that's where signaling medicine is so exciting for me, because I've seen people's health just enormously increase, even if there's somebody who has been a professional athlete earlier in their life and they want to regain that same kind of spark. So the question right now is, how do we restore it intelligently? And so MOTS-c, while there's a lot of data around its mechanism and what it does in the body and the benefits, it is a chain of amino acids and is broken down in the digestive tract, which means if someone's trying to offer it to you orally, there's probably not a lot of data around you actually having any benefits from that. And so most of these preclinical investigations, they've used it as injections, and the subcutaneous delivery, it goes into the tissue just beneath the skin and it allows absorption without that first pass hepatic metabolism. So it can actually activate these genes on your cells, and then you get more what's called AMPK production. Now, MOTS-c, you've got to be careful because there's not a lot of human data on this. So once again, work with the provider, get your labs read, and make sure that this is safe for you. And it only comes from a 503A compounding pharmacy. And yes, a lot of these peptides are being moved from category 2 to category 1. Fingers crossed that that all gets cleared up in the next month or two. But if you do it properly, there's bioavailability that you can access that you won't find in other places. And so when you're thinking about how to utilize this, some MOTS-c wants it off that category 2 list. When you get it from your compounding pharmacy, your prescriber will prescribe this to you. It gets sent to your house. And sometimes it comes in a lyophilized agent, and that requires proper reconstitution. Make sure you read the instructions. You don't want to put in, 4 cc's of water, bacteriostatic water, or whatever your provider sends, and you want to make sure you're handling it with sterility. You don't want to put 4 cc's in when it should have been 2, for example. Your dosing is not going to be proper. And the other thing you want to watch out for is you want to make sure that the provider is with you every step. It's not like they just send you peptides and then you're on your own. You want to be informing them as far as how your sleep is, how your energy levels were, making sure you're taking it in the morning, not in the evening, because a lot of people do notice an enormous boost in energy. And then you also want to make sure you've got some base metabolic markers. And so that could be a CGM, it could be blood labs, but make sure it's always done under supervision, because MOTS-c, unfortunately, this is one of the peptides that can be very immunogenic. And that's, one of the downsides of it is you do want to have some Benadryl, some kind of Zyrtec on hand, or an EpiPen just in case. If your body is more susceptible, make sure you talk to your doctor about that. And if you don't have a great doctor to work with, then go to agelessfuture.com and work with one of our providers there who can help determine what is appropriate for you. So MOTS-c on the cellular level, it actually inhibits the folate cycle and suppresses de novo purine biosynthesis. So this causes this intercellular accumulation of ACAR. This is a naturally occurring AMPK activator. And this is what I was mentioning earlier, is this AMPK is your cell's master energy sensor. And so when it gets activated, it activates fat oxidation, you get uptake via GLUT4 of glucose, and then you get this mitochondrial biogenesis simultaneously while you're turning down the formation of new fat called lipogenesis. And your body also acts as if it's under metabolic stress. So similar to what happens when you're exercising. And so it activates this antioxidant response. And this gene is essentially riding stress resilience reprogramming into your gene expression. And so MOTS-c, while it's a peptide that, yes, we need more human clinical data, we do have very well-defined articles in the research, and I'll provide links in the show notes, that shows exactly how it can improve skeletal muscle through this myostatin inhibition. It helps with reduction of fatty acid oxidation. It reduces visceral fat accumulation. inflammation, creates more metabolic flexibility, and it's something that you can use in your adaptive process. Once again, if you love this video, this was not medical advice. This is me giving you direction on how MOTS-c can be used effectively, making sure you're dosing it, your timing's correct, and most importantly, you've got the right medical team behind you. If you love this video on MOTS-c, I'll provide a link to another one in the show notes below. And make sure that you subscribe, share this with a friend. Thanks so much for being on the channel.